Johnny, you were a former D1 athlete and a military academy graduate to now mental coach and licensed psychotherapist. You advocate for men and those who desire to meet their potential. For the past 17 years, you have worked in the mental health industry with addicts, performers, veterans, stay-at-home mothers, business professionals, and spiritual seekers. But what I want to know is, do you think you're creative?
Yeah, that's been a journey. Do I think I'm a creative person? Yes. I think all humans are creative. I just think a lot of us have buried seeds that we've not realized. So, in my personal perspective is, envision a human is born with like a bag of seeds inside them, and it's our duty to water those, cultivate those, steward those well, whether they're abilities, talents, visions, ideas, thoughts, right? Even just desire. I mean, I remember being a kid having a great desire for Ireland, and I'm Puerto Rican. I mean, I remember thumbing through Celtic books as a little kid, like just fascinated with Irish culture, Celtic culture. Lo and behold, when I'm done playing college ball, I wanted to try to play at the higher ranks in Europe. So I just got the nerve built up. I wanted to be in Ireland and play in Ireland. So I got a one-way ticket, scared out of my mind.
College ball, and I'm European, so I'm thinking soccer, right?
Soccer, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a basketball player. But it was just follow through on a desire, like a seed, right? So in that sense, I mean, I think the way to maybe cultivate your artistic callings is to pay attention to desire, especially those ones that linger, right? But then to do something with them. So I think there's a lot of people go to the grave that were artistic, had ideas, had visions, had abilities, and they just never launched, man. So the key factor, I think, is courage, right? But then also discovery. Like a lot of people have never been told, hey, bro, I see this potential in you. What are you doing with that? And, that's common because there's a lot of people out there who just don't have encouragement. They don't have, their upbringing was crazy. They don't have quality mentors, coaches, So, yeah, do I think I'm creative? Yes, I do. But that's been a discovery journey the past 10 years. I started writing. I started making video content. Before that, it was just grind.
Yeah. How are you grinding? I mean, playing ball? That's what you mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, my goal was to be a professional soccer player. But I also knew I lacked discipline. That's why I went to military academy. Full scholarship helped.
Yeah.
But I could tell, like, dude, I lack discipline. If I go to a normal school, I'm going to go off the rails, know? And so I did that. And then even just post-graduation, it was all about just discovery. Like, once I broke free, I'm trained with the Army for 4 years. Once I got out, I was like, look, I'm not shaving. I'm not cutting my hair. I'm going to live on the beach. I'm going to travel the world. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. And in that process, I had a lot of experiences.
Yeah.
And I think experience can be one of those things that can trigger creativity, right? You have a transformative experience and it awakens something inside of you. It also gives you more content to write about, right?
Yeah, because you wrote a book, right?
I did. Yep. Wrote a book. It's called Primal Virtues for the Modern Man.
So did you always have wanted to write a book, or was that just something that just kind of you felt the desire to put your thoughts into words and organized?
I didn't have a desire to write a book, actually. It was never written to be a book. I just work with a lot of clients, and I just noticed things that worked with them and like virtues and standards that they needed to embody to help them in life. And I just started writing. I was like, I'm going to write down what I think, like, how do I live and what virtues do I live by? And maybe those virtues could help other dudes kind of get on the right trail. So that's how it started. Then decided to I was intended to be a service to clients. Like, hey, you're done working with me here. Just read this.
Yeah.
Let this hold you accountable. And then it went from there.
So how did you get into the whole mental health field?
How did I get in? Let me think back. That's an old bio. I was about pushing 20 years I've been in the field. Well, flashback to college, I was a business major.
Okay.
But I hated the business classes. Now I'm in business for myself, but I hated the math, really. And then I liked the psychology classes. I liked learning about the soul and the way people think and why we tick, or what makes us tick, why we do what we do. And so I graduated college, and then I tried my hand at like, some office gig, and hated it. And then I was just always drawn to really, I don't want to say damaged. I was drawn to people that had a lot of struggles and wanted to see them get breakthrough. And I mean, I've worked in homes for sex offenders. I've worked in foster care. I've been in prisons. I've worked at multiple addiction treatment centers. That's kind of where I cut my teeth, really. I've built log cabins. I've been a barista.
And has all of this been kind of in the South Florida area, or just all over the
Virginia and Virginia, Tennessee, and Florida?
Okay.
Yeah, so mixed it up.
Have you seen different challenges that people go through, of course, in different states? I don't know if there's something very different from people from Tennessee to Florida, from Virginia to Tennessee that you've noticed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not going to see a ton of seasonal depression in South Florida, right? With great weather. And also South Florida is the addiction recovery capital of the United States. So you're going to see a lot of recovery down here. So, if you go to school down here, you tend to get into that industry, that field.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, humans are humans no matter where you go. But this has been home for a long time now, so this is where I'm familiar.
So I want to go back to you playing pro ball,
Semi-pro.
Semi-pro. So you went.
I didn't make big bucks. Don't be impressed.
So it was D1, correct? I had that correct at least, right? When did you have that crossroads when you're like, this is not what I want to do? And
yeah. So at 28, I had gone to 3 different trials with 3 different clubs and didn't get the contract and was constantly injured and was just taking a heavy hit psychologically, man. I was just like, bro, I don't know if I could take another no.
Yeah.
Like this, I'm either going to get the breakthrough now or I'm not. 28. you
Yeah.
know? And then I went to a trial and I thought I played well, but I was kind of coming back from injury and then didn't get it. And I remember sitting on my bed and I remember telling my girlfriend, who's my wife now, I said, I think this is over. And I started weeping and I was like, I don't think I know who I am because this has been my whole life. And so it was like a real identity crisis. And that kind of set me on a journey to going, what am I about and what gives me meaning and what do I think, where's my heart, man? Like, who do I like being around, who I like working with? And my wife and we moved to Virginia. Long story short, I kept thinking about going back to school, about counseling, about psychology, and toured some programs and ended up going to grad school.
Because all the stuff that you were kind of feeling currently at the time were just your identity, were like, this is where I thought I was going to be, but obviously that's not working. So I'm trying to figure out who you want, where you want to be.
Well, I think I still haven't figured it all out. Okay. What I will say is I think a lot of people can relate to the death of a dream and then going, I gotta get back up. And in fact, the death of a dream starts to awaken other dreams, right? So it's kind of like an acorn dies, but an oak tree rises.
Yeah.
Right. So, ooh, that's profound. But
yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I'm in process, but I think that had to happen, and I think I needed to take that as far as it could to know that I did everything I can. So I don't have regret, man. Like I played my heart out, bro. I did everything I could.
What position did you play?
College center mid, and then after that, I played semi-pro in the States and then overseas. Played winger and then striker. So I'm speedy.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're quite the runner.
Speedy Gonzalez, yeah. Good cardio.
Oh yeah. So going from there and then kind of taking business classes, and then from the business classes, that's kind of where you jumped into more the psychology studies.
Yeah, I don't know about you, man, but undergrad for me was just about getting the degree. I didn't give a rip about. I don't remember anything from undergrad. I remember drinking heavily, and I remember like 1 or 2 psychology classes. But it just that my goal was to play ball and just to get the degree, and I was really getting a lot of military training and discipline. So yeah, I wasn't having a lot of profound light bulb moments there. But what I was learning was follow through, discipline, and honor.
Okay.
And those are core values of mine that have carried me a long way.
Follow through, discipline, and honor.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. I don't know if it's been your experience. My experience is modern day men, especially women too, We talk a lot of hype. We love hearing ourselves talk, but we're really bad at following through on things. We have ideas, or we say we're going to meet Jimmy for coffee, and we back out last minute. We say we're going to start a business. We say we're going to run a marathon. We say we're going to whatever, and then like excuses derail us, and we're not men of our word.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there used to be more culturally, we used to be the kind of people that followed through on our word. We don't even follow through on our marriages anymore. It's like, yo, somebody new comes around, whatever, job to job, you know? And I realize people are on a journey, but there's something really beautiful about follow through. So that's one. Honor, see, they all blend together. Honor is adhering to a high, unyielding standard. Okay. Integrity is holding to that high standard when no one is watching. Right.
Yeah.
So who are you? Do you follow through, and do you hold according to a high standard, even when you're not going to get brownie points for it, even when you're not going to get applauded, but you know your integrity is at risk here. Right. And so you're talking to a guy, bro, I used to cut corners, man, just like everybody else, until I realized that was weakening me as a man. It weakens you as an artist when you cut corners, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What was the other thing I said? Honor, high standards, follow through.
You're talking about integrity right now, but it sounds like to me you have the self-awareness from such an early age, and it almost seems like everything else is just the distractions, because everyone does have that journey that they're trying to face, but really what kind of cripples everybody is just the distractions and not having the discipline, because dreams without action are just dreams.
Right.
Yeah.
Just idea. Everybody's got ideas, man.
Yeah.
Intention's nice. Intention doesn't mean shit. It's like, it's nice if my wife has intentions to love me, but if she doesn't act on that behaviorally or tell me, it doesn't mean shit. I mean, these intentions and ideas have to be manifested somehow, right? Like, it's funny, culture, just talk generally. I think in culture, we have a great love for ideas, not realizing ideas mean absolutely nothing unless you manifest them and do something about it, right? So it doesn't shift culture. Your ideas don't shift culture unless they get acted upon. So we must be doers over talkers. Talk cool. Yep. Let's philosophize. Let's dig deep. Let's understand each other. What are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, taking that action. So what is the action that I'm trying to see where you from not playing, not having that opportunity, and taking the action to be a psychologist now?
Yeah. Well, psychotherapist. So psychologists psychiatrists tend to dispense medication.
Okay.
They're really good at their craft. I'm not making fun of them. Psychologists tend to be experts in research, and they also do a bit of face-to-face therapy. Psychotherapists are the ones that are ground level doing the face-to-face, the group therapy, the facilitation, and also work with psychiatrists and psychologists. So that's the delineation. How did I make the jump? Well, part of it was paying attention to desires. Like, I have a natural drift towards people who are struggling. And so I started paying attention to that. What threw me off is I'm not a very empathetic person. You know, like, honestly, bro, I mean, this will sound crazy. I've seen dead bodies. I'm like, yeah, all right. Like, I'm not impressed.
You remember the first dead body you saw?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm just built different. I can hear crazy trauma and it doesn't get in me, and I can see around it. So that's helpful, because I don't get sucked into people's stuff per se.
Yeah.
I mean, but I've had to work on my empathy by being around people that are emotionally compromised and not have to fix it and not have to run, just be in the pocket. That's, by the way, how you cultivate empathy is don't run away and don't try to fix, just be there with them, right? Do it over and over and you get better at it. So, yeah, man, I mean, not everybody wants to work with sex offenders, but I was like, man, I think I want to see if we could try to help some people here and see if we can get them back on the horse. And what does reconciliation look like? What does redemption look like? If you've ever needed to be forgiven for something, now that's by the way, the sex offenders, that's a dramatic, you know, I realize that's kind of crazy talk, but what does it look like to be redeemed? What does it look like for someone to believe in you when you stop believing in yourself? What does it look like do we just cut people off like they're lepers? I do believe in justice, and I do believe in pushing back on evil, but not everybody wants to work with sex offenders. So it's like doing that teaches me a lot of patience. Try to see how people get where they got, what's under the hood, man.
Yeah.
And I've needed forgiveness myself with not with sex offense, but like if you've ever been in the position of needing forgiveness as an addict, you lie.
Walking into that, you must have just the most open mind possible rather than just your prejudgment going in there saying this is the purest of evil.
No, you come in with judgments.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to sound like a saint, but you're like,
Yeah.
yo, we need to put these people in check.
Yeah.
Right. Or same when you work in a prison or you work in a treatment center, you have ideas about what addiction is and what addicts are like. And then you meet some guy who's just like a normal dude.
Yeah.
Who's just got this thing, this monster.
Working with sex offenders, did that kind of change your perspective on any of what you thought what it was before kind of working with them?
I've never met a sex offender who wasn't offended sexually, who wasn't assaulted. Not that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, right.
Who wasn't assaulted, who wasn't abused, who wasn't neglected, who didn't go through severe pain. Pain is transferred when you don't transmute it. When you don't pain that you don't transform, you will transmit. Right? So we judge other people for their brokenness, not realizing that they went through some stuff, right?
Yeah.
But people are really resilient. Like the addict, like people get clean every day. People get sober every day. So yeah, man, I don't know if there was a clear-cut awakening moment where I was like, I'm going to be in this field. It was more like a drift and paying attention to what came most natural. I do remember, what's that guy's name? Doctor, he does the addict show.
Dr. Oz?
No, not Dr. Oz.
Dr. Phil?
No, the other guy, gray hair. He used to have that show on VH1, I think, it was in an addiction treatment center.
Oh, yeah. It was a reality show.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I remember watching that.
Yeah.
And while I was already kind of in school and going, I think I really want to work in addiction. And of course it's
Inspired.
glamorized.
Yeah,
It's glamorized. You get in addiction and it's, it's not what they show on TV. But my heart was in it, man, and I wanted to help people. And I see people get clean and break through all the time. And it's inspiring, man.
Mm-hmm.
People climbing out of their funk and their past traumas. And it's the human journey, man. It's the hero's journey, really.
Right. Approaching that and just embodying yourself in that. Did you, take me through that. When did you start kind of getting more into the addiction side of mental health?
When I got down here at grad school, like I said, if you cut your teeth down here in Florida, your first job opportunities are going to be in treatment centers. We have a lot of them.
Right.
So I started at the low end, man. I was doing urinalysis, piss tests for people. I was driving people to AA meetings. I was doing bed checks, kind of like a glorified babysitter.
Yeah.
But getting in the mix, man, and just hearing people's stories and getting faced with a lot of hard, having to learn boundaries and people trying to take advantage of me. There's the old phrase, how do you know an addict's lying? Well, their mouth is moving, right? So, I mean, I just trying to weed out who's lying to me, who's telling the truth, and growing in discernment and getting taken advantage of and learning from it, all that kind of stuff, bro. You don't know what you don't know. So, yeah, man, that was the intro and then, just went on to get licensed and, now have a private practice. And I deal with all kinds of clientele, but as of, I'd say the past 3 to 5 years, I've really been more and more drifting towards helping men grow into true comprehensive masculinity, helping wives of men, helping the sons and daughters of men to heal and the whole holistic family get better. But with a real focus on men, I think if men can step up and lead in the home, from the top down, health can trickle down, and what the fathers do affect mom, affect the sons, the daughters, affect the neighborhood. If you get a dad, you get a home. If you get a home, you get a neighborhood. Neighborhood, a town, a city, yada, 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 a nation, right? Holistic.
The foundation's so important in order to have sustainable growth.
100%, man. I mean, absolutely. not to say women aren't important. Of course. I mean, we're different but equal.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a hotly debated statement. I don't know why it's hotly debated. It is. But yeah. So yeah, that's my focus.
So sounds like you've just had every taste and flavor of mental health and kind of in the field. And has it always kind of been the burning passion, or did it kind of dwindle away at some points where it kind of just become more of just trying to fix everyone's problems?
Well, I think everybody could probably relate to this. No matter what path you choose, if it's your trail,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have days where you're like, dude, that was awesome. And then you're going to have days like, why am I doing this? Right?
Yeah.
And then you got to sit back and not be led primarily by emotions, but by resolve and your creed, your standard, and where's your heart really? And then, sometimes no matter if you're a musician or you're a plumber or whatever your craft is, if you're a painter, sometimes you hit seasons of burnout and you need to reassess and go like, okay, like, am I saying yes to too much? Do I need to say no to more stuff? And people are guilty of that. A lot of people, especially responsible people,
Mm-hmm.
they take on a lot. And then they get shocked that they're tired. And other people see that you're responsible, so they tend to hand you their stuff too. They come to you because they know you can solve problems. But if you take on everybody's crisis, everybody's problems, you get inundated and suffocated and you'll get burnt out. So you have to learn when to say yes, when to say no matter what your craft or your trail is.
Mm-hmm. How'd you find that balance?
Through getting burnt out and through being a really nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Remember my roommates used to pay me late. People would borrow my stuff without asking. People would just I would just crack jokes and let people get away with stuff.
Right.
And then I remember just getting really fed up with feeling disrespected, devalued, and mistreated because I was just too nice. And it took years for the build up. But I'll tell you the story. I don't know if my college roommate will hear this, but I remember in college at military academy. So we would get furlough. We'd get to go put on civilian clothes and leave for a weekend occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we couldn't have our civilian clothes in our barracks. So they would be in the basement. So you'd have to go get your suitcase, whatever. I go down, I get many suitcases as I can and bring it back. Well, I only have so many hands. My roommate's suitcase didn't get grabbed. I couldn't grab it.
Yeah.
And he goes off on me. He's cussing me out, slandering me, calling me a bitch, whatever. And I remember I was just letting him vent. And back then I didn't have a backbone. And I remember I walked out to go to the cafeteria and I'm about 5 minutes down the sidewalk. And I was like, hold on a second. I was like, I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of getting yelled at when I'm trying to do my best. I'm sick of people taking advantage. I'm sick of this. My roommate was just a strong-willed dude.
Right.
Alpha type. And I go back in there and I'm like, listen here. It's like the first time I ever stood up to anybody. I'm like, you're an asshole. Everybody else thinks you're an asshole. That's why you don't have any friends. And I carried as much as I could and I'm doing the best damn I could. I think I'm a pretty damn good roommate. And F you. And I'm done being the nice guy. And I remember walking out, going to eat dinner, thinking like, holy shit, what was that?
Did that feel good?
Felt really good.
Okay.
And then later on, he was like, yo, respect. It was it actually helped our relationship. And all my roommates were like, bro, he's changed. What happened? I remember he just started making more friends and stuff. His version of this might be different. But I mean, he needed to shift and be a little bit more personable, and I needed to shift and become a little bit more stern.
From there, were you starting to kind of articulate a little bit more of these feelings of just kind of being pushed on and walked over a little bit? Because that's the thing what I really want to know is you have a very good way of articulating your thoughts and your emotions to kind of be no bullshit, and it's very clear. Mm-hmm. And have you? And
that's just years of getting burnt, years of learning what doesn't work, and then I started. Here's the thing. Here's what you guys need to do: start to pay attention to your resentments.
Mm.
If you can look at your inside at your who am I resentful with? Where am I feeling disrespected or devalued? And the truth is, for the most part, unless you stand up for yourself, first become a respectable person, but then demand that others who hang around you or others who are in your vicinity if they're going to be in your vicinity, they must treat you in a particular way. You must make demands on people. First, you hold the standard yourself, but then you teach other people how to treat you by how you treat you and by what you allow or don't allow. You get what you tolerate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I used to tolerate a whole lot because I thought back then a core value for me was acceptance. I want to be accepted by the tribe. That's the number one thing. I want to be well liked. And it took me a decade or more after that to figure out, that's a bad core value. Your main objective in life is not to be liked and accepted. Anyone who ever did anything valuable, important, transformative in this life got resisted. They weren't liked by everybody. They were liked by some people. They were loved by some people. They were also hated. Bro, Jesus got crucified. Right? Martin Luther King assassinated. Winston Churchill, he had great enemies who hated him. He essentially saved Britain from the Nazis, right? The list goes on, but yeah, man, if you want to do anything with your life, you're going to get criticism. You're going to have critics. You got to have backbone. And the way to start to develop backbone is to start to pay attention to resentments, start to say no more. You start small. You don't have to start using your courage muscles every day, little by little. Start saying what you think.
I always try to think of it this way. If instead of burning bridges, it's really building boundaries and you having the action to build that boundary, not having the other person to build that boundary.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of falls all under really mental toughness in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's part of it.
So for that, because for me to be in your shoes for that, I just know how I am when I kind of speak a certain way to somebody. I always have 1,000 thoughts afterwards where I'm like, was I too aggressive? I hope it wasn't like this. I hope it wasn't like that. So how do you regulate some of these negative thoughts or just backwards thinking?
Yeah. Well, you're human. Welcome to planet Earth, right? You second guess yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
And but you're a personal guy, and I'm assuming if you overstep bounds, you're willing to go, hey, bro, I think that thing I said was off color, and I'm sorry, What I see, bro, is more of a problem is people are too apologetic. They're too they're coddled too much. They coddle other people too much. They don't actually tell. Let me tell you something. I'm getting worked up. Let me ask you a question. Would you want to go to coffee with me if I didn't want to meet you for coffee? No. Let's say you go to coffee with me, but I don't really want to be there. It's like a pity hangout. You don't want that. That's bullshit. You want me to want to be there, right? Well, that's the way I view telling people what I really feel and think. There's a way to do it tactfully, but I'm not going to just coddle you and pity you. I'm going to tell you what's real and what I think would be good for you and what's best.
Yeah.
Right. And I think sometimes we're just too apologetic for the sake of sounding winsome, for the sake of not ruffling feathers. Again, because we have a fear of deep rejection, because we want so badly to be accepted by people that we actually don't say what needs to get said. We don't do what needs to get done because that would risk rejection by the crowd. Where I'm like, look, once you detach from the need to, I get my core value, my validity and identity directly from God. I also have other people in my life that believe in me and will love me even if I'm a jackass. They will take a bat to the face for me. So I can lean on that and go, there are people in my life. I don't have 1,000 of them, but you got a couple.
Yeah.
Right. And that's enough. God believes in me. These people believe in me. I'm starting to believe in me. Right. And so, yeah, that might have kind of veered off your question a little bit.
That makes sense. And having that dialogue in that relationship with certain people has that, I guess you kind of really learn by trial by error a little bit too, with just kind of vocalizing how you feel a certain way too. Because at least with me, I can never perfectly explain how I'm feeling at the moment, especially if I feel like I'm really getting pushed to the limits a little bit. Have you kind of had a situation like that happen before?
Yeah. Well, so some people are external processors and some people are internal processors. So I don't know exactly which one you are, but I'm an internal processor. I figure out stuff when I'm alone, and I figure out what I think about it, and then I can have a conversation with you. I don't figure stuff out while I'm in conversation. You typically,
Yeah.
right? But some people, like my wife's an external processor. When she's talking stuff out, she's figuring out what she thinks and what she believes. That's how she taps into that.
Right.
So, just recognize some people are like that in conversation. And you may be the kind of guy, it's like, you're just saying stuff going, I'm not sure what I think about that. And you feel like you're being forced to say something. And you're like, I don't know where I land on that. Well, some people will force you into a corner unless you know what? I'm not sure. I know what I think about that yet. And it's okay to go, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, with your question about like kind of doing a post-mortem when you're done hanging with people, you're like, yo, did I overstep my bounds? Well, some of that is rooted in we want acceptance. We don't want to we don't want to be thought ill of. We don't want other people to think less of us and maybe that we were offensive.
Reputation, right? Yeah.
Reputation. But some of it is you need to learn it's very valuable to let the world feel the weight of who you are and let them deal with it. And stop apologizing for who Jacob is. Like, you matter. You're in this generation for a reason. And, stop apologizing for what you believe. Stop apologizing for the way you dress. Stop apologizing for the music you listen to. Stop apologizing. Like, honestly, I'm not going to apologize to anyone about how I treat my family members and how I raise my kids. Like, we've decided on some core values. We're doing that. Sorry if you don't like it, bro. Get off my back. I'm living my life. I'm not answering to you when I die. You think, are you going to be at my deathbed when I'm 99 years old and I'm surrounded by my loved ones? You're not going to be there, most likely.
Yeah, me maybe, but
maybe. I'm like, Jacob, where are you, bro? Like the most of the people in your life, they're not going to be there. And you die, you're not standing before them in judgment. You don't answer to them.
Yeah.
Why live for them?
Were these skills as sharp when you were working with addicts too? Or did you kind of get a little bit
no, it's
bamboozled a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Yes. But, if you're a quick learner and you get burned a couple of times, you're like, yo, I'm not doing that again. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just paying attention to pain. Let the pain teach you. Right? Dude, honestly, it's been my experience. A lot of people don't have 1,000 problems. They have one problem that they just keep repeating over and over.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's the boundary issue is your problem. Like, you just keep letting people invade your boundaries and you get what you tolerate, and they keep making the same damn mistake. It's like they enter the same relationships over and over and over. Why do I keep dating abusive men? She did, maybe, she's the same old problem. Yeah. So it's like, until we listen to the pain, humans are funny, man. We all want to touch the hot stove for ourselves. Don't touch the hot stove. It's going to burn the shit out of your hand. Well, I think I could be the one person that could touch it and not get burned, So I'm not making fun of people. I'm like, I get it. I'm like that. I got to learn the hard way too. Yeah. But I've learned more and more to just listen to the lesson behind the pain, and to try to adapt and adjust and recognize that this life's short, and you got to make it count, and which means you must grow, and you will grow. Hear me. You cannot grow without pain. Listen to what the pain is telling you and adapt. Right? Listen to it. That's the only way to change, is listen to it. Yeah. Stop blaming other people, bro. Stop blaming other people for your pain and go, what's the lesson in here? Let me adjust and adapt and come at this from a different angle, rather than pinning the blame on my parents, on my wife, on the government, on the president, on the governor, on the pastor, on the therapist, whatever. Take personal ownership, listen to the pain, adapt, adjust, overcome.
Adapt, adjust, overcome.
Boom. That's a t-shirt.
Yeah, dude.
I think that's the Boy Scout motto or something. It's part of it.
So from going from working with addicts to kind of the private practice sector of it, so you've worked with kind of like business people, just kind of people that are just wanting more out of life. Yeah. Just kind of the list goes on. What is the kind of the age range from young to old, old to young?
Right now, I don't see anyone under 15 typically.
Okay.
And then, man, it's all over the place, man. I work with multi-million-dollar CEOs. I work with soccer moms. I work with homeschool families. I work with professional athletes, amateur athletes, musicians, actors. I've got an actor in Hollywood right now, who's gonna hit it big. If you listen to this, you got this, bro. keep striving. Go to those. I don't know what you call them. They're not trials. What do you call them?
I'm sorry, I'm blanking that too. Auditions.
I'm obviously not an
There we
actor.
go. I'm barely an actor.
Yeah, man. So I'm all over the place, and I just want to see people win, bro. But you gotta, look, man. Let's be honest. It's like someone who goes to a personal trainer, like, yo, I want to get stronger, and they're like, do these 5 things, you'll get stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, I'll do one of them. Right. And they don't get stronger. And then they're like, well, this shit doesn't work.
Yeah.
This bodybuilder, these trainers don't work. It's like, sometimes we think we want to grow and change, but we're stuck in old stuff. We haven't, listen, hear me on this. This is a tip. All right. A lot of you upgrade your iPhones and your material possessions, and you upgrade your vacations, but you don't upgrade your mindset. If you will upgrade your mindset, those mindsets will change behaviors. Those behaviors will change your outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you got your iPhone there. I got my iPhone 13 or whatever.
Somewhere.
Get a new one every year or two. Most people will spend $1,000 on an iPhone, right? But they won't spend $1,000 on a training to get better, which would challenge their mindset, right? Now, going back to what I said earlier, a lot of people think reading a book or listening to a YouTube video is going to change your mindset. It might, but you have to apply that stuff and go do something with it. And in the doing, you experience transformation.
Action, yeah.
Right? A knowledge without the application and the experience is dead knowledge. You become a person with a big head, lots of head knowledge, but no experience with it. Who would you rather go to war with? A military combatant who had been to war for 10 years, or someone who studied war in college?
Someone with the experience.
Of course, right? But it's funny, man. Like, well, how do you get there? How do you become the master?
Mm-hmm.
Through experience, which is trial and error. Here, this doesn't work. I've tried that. Try it this way. It's adaptation, trial and error. And over time, you get experience. We got to be more relaxed about the growth process. As an artist, you're a musician, you're a podcaster, you're videographer, you're doing all this creative stuff. It's like, how do you become a master? Well, you got to suck for a while. And you got to wear it proudly. Like, dude, I'm in growth mode. This is how I'm going to get better. If I don't lose the faith, if I don't lose the hope, I can get really good at this craft. Whatever your craft is. Everybody out there is an artisan. I don't care if you're a plumber. Mm-hmm. Plumb with the best of them.
Yeah.
Do your craft like you're being followed by a film crew, right? And get some coaching or whatever, and whatever trail you're on. But we a lot of times we expect to be a grand master at our craft because we got a paper degree or because we watched 30 YouTube videos. Well, did you apply the 30 YouTube videos over the process of time? Did you adapt, overcome? Did you follow through? Did you do it? I forget who it was. I'm saying a lot, but I was listening to this panel one time.
Yeah.
It was this like famous author, and they had said, hey, so like, we're just wondering like about inspiration and motivation. Do you only write when you're inspired? And I remember the guy said, yes. And they were like, really? And he was like, yes. Fortunately, inspiration hits me every day at 9 a.m. when my alarm clock goes off. Mm. He was saying, I stick to a pattern and a habit. I write, and in the movement of the writing is where I tap into those creative juices.
It's a muscle.
It's a muscle, but there's movement first. The boat goes first. The wake comes later, right? So there's the discipline part, right? A lot of, I'm not picking on artists, but a lot of artists, they've got this beautiful craft, but they might be a little lazy. Yeah. They might not execute when they're tired or when they're hungry.
Well, it's creativity and mental health, I feel like, go hand in hand too. A lot of creatives either have all the self-doubts or just the lack of action or just what I've found out recently is called imposter syndrome, where they're known for doing something like this, but they want to branch out and do something like this, but society knows them as something else. And it's just finding the action in order to take that leap of faith. But you touched on something which kind of reminded me of just really the education system, where like people my age, the 27, 28 range, that have degrees, are very well educated, well rounded, but they have no real work experience. So they're going to these jobs that they're so overqualified for, but they don't have the experience, so they kind of lack that. So they are underpaid for their big degree that they have. And then there's, on the other hand, the people who've worked since the day out of high school, they can't get that job because they don't have that piece of paper that shows that legitimacy, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, and not to knock it, there's, not to knock education, but I know plenty of people that got a slip of paper that are deluded into thinking that qualifies them. Right?
Yeah.
I know guys that are multi-millionaire business owners that are good in one niche thing. Maybe it's tech or whatever, or I don't know, just whatever the industry is. And they think because they have success in this one category that qualifies them to talk about other categories, other issues.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, what the hell do you know about hunting? You're a tech guy. You saw a hunting video and you're coaching people on hunting. Do you hunt? Oh, I hunted one time when I was 10. Oh, okay. It's like, yo, the success in that one category doesn't qualify you in other categories. That's why growth is endless. But humility, no matter what your power status is, that's a big piece. No, like humility, know what you don't know. I mean, bro, I'm just because I'm a therapist doesn't qualify me to speak on every issue, right? Like if I don't know something, I'm probably gonna tell you I don't know. My wife will call me out on that, but yeah, man, I there's a lot of growth opportunity, man, and it takes a humble spirit to go. I don't care how good you are at music. Did you lose your humble spirit to keep growing, to max out potential? I don't care how many albums you've sold. I don't care how many books you've written. Keep pushing, max out potential, maintain humility, go for it.
Do you see that a lot with some of your clients that come in that are quote unquote successful to society?
Yeah, pride takes in. Pride's sneaky, man. Ego's sneaky. It blinds you. I know, man, I know plenty of people, big business tycoons, fancy cars, big houses, but can't take advice from anybody. Can't even take advice from their woman. Are kind of disconnected from their kids. It's like talking to a robot. They're talking down to you like you're some inferior person because you don't have millions of dollars in the bank account. Meanwhile, they are poor in spirit. They are poor relationally. They're poor emotionally, right? It might have 7 figures in the bank, but they're a minimum wage father. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So the goal is to be a badass in all different categories, comprehensive masculinity, to be the loving husband, to be the loving father, to be the commanding presence, to be the leader in business, to be the lion and the lamb.
So what is that action to get to be mentally well or into a mental better place? I know physical action, for speaking personally, is fitness is everything for me, where it kind of gets me to that place, but also doing the things that I don't want to do. I try to do an ice bath once a week. It's stuff that I don't want to do, but it's because I hear so much about meditation. I hear the importance of just being by yourself, breathing, kind of taking in the day, really controlling your thoughts too, not having your thoughts control yourself. But these are just the little nuggets of knowledge that I've learned. Like, hey, if you want to get better or be on that path, these are some of the actions that you need to kind of put into your life and healthy habits. So what is something particular that you can kind of...
To grow in mental toughness?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so let me define mental toughness real quick.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, there's different definitions out there. This is the one I kind of adhere to. So mental toughness is the ability to stay on mission, to stay focused on your objective in spite of adversity, in spite of obstacles, and even in spite of plateaus, even in spite of success, staying on mission. So, can you stay resilient and mentally tough when shit hits the fan? Can you stay locked in on the mission? A lot of people bail. So how do you do that? Well, you learn to be a man of your word and you follow through even when it's inconvenient. You learn if you said you're going to work out 5 days a week, I don't care if it's raining outside. I don't care if it's hot as shit. You better work out, right? If you said you're going to go to Paris next year and you were going to save up X amount of dollars to do it, I don't care if you got to work double shifts. You be a man of your word. You follow through. And what happens is your psychology, your soul sees you and it goes, this dude means business. When he says it, he does it. And it makes you tougher. It makes you stronger. You're mentally resilient and strong. You follow through when other people flake out, right? You head towards the dangerous stuff while other people are cowering in fear. Now, secondly, I think we can learn a lot of quotes and mantras, which I love quotes, philosophy, and mantras. But then we must implement them through physical activity. So I personally don't think you can be all that mentally tough unless you tax the body, right? General Patton said, fatigue makes cowards of us all. So you can be big and bad and reared up, ready to roll. But the second you're tired, you're like, When you had energy, you were hyped. You were confident, but now you don't have energy and you kind of give in to that. Well, mentally tough people go, I don't care if I don't have any energy. I'm still doing it. I don't care if I lack energy right now. I still need to parent my kids. I still need to show up for my craft. I still need to show up in life, right? So those are the two biggest encouragements I would give people. Mm-hmm. Be a man or woman of your word. Follow through and tax the body, right? Learn to push through when you're tired. Dude, a lot of people, they're tired. They just sleep in that extra couple hours. And I get there's a time for self-care and rest. But that becomes a habit for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And the habit for a lot of people is flaking when shit's hard. And this is going to offend a lot of people. So
I'm ready.
Buckle up, Buttercup. I think we are the softest generation that's ever existed on planet Earth. I mean, dude, we just live in a time of technology and kush.
Well, everything's easy. Everything's extremely accessible where you almost don't even have to think.
Bro, I could pick up your phone right now and order something same day from Amazon that I want. I can get running hot water. I can get an Uber. I could fly to Africa right now and be there in less than a day. Dude, I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, right? It's the time of instant, right? I have access to any information that I want right now, right? So we don't realize it because we're in it, but we live in extreme decadence, which is decay due to overindulgence in luxury and comfort. But we don't think that way. We're like, no, my life's tough. It's like, I hear you. Life is hard. But for most of human history, they didn't have hot running water. They didn't have chariots with wheels on them called cars. Yeah. They didn't have iPhones to answer all their questions. They didn't have fast food. They didn't have microwaves. You had to actually go hunt your food. You couldn't outsource your protection and pay the government or some police officer to protect you. You had to protect you. So yes, I think we're extremely soft, and I think we need to start to realize that, wake up. We need an awakening, and to start to get back to some of the fundamentals of mental toughness of, dude, I got to learn how to be a protector. I got to learn how to be a provider. I got to learn this stuff for myself. I'm going to stop outsourcing all this stuff and learn how to do it for myself. And as you do it for yourself, you grow, you become stronger, you become more confident, right? You become formidable. And your soul sees you doing that. And that's a psychological shift that happens. When you outsource everything, right? Like take your hands, for example. I've been doing a lot of pull-ups lately. I'm getting more and more calluses.
Oh, nice.
Right? When we don't use them, they get soft and cushy. Mm-hmm. When we expose them to friction, they get hard, strong, right? Humans have gotten soft and cushy. We must get hard and strong again, more formidable, right? And that actually is a great approach to dealing with anxiety and fear. Is you can actually outgrow your fears, just like I outgrew the boogeyman in the closet when I was a little kid. Mm-hmm. Now I would crush the boogeyman. I'll slit his freaking throat. Right? I've outgrown my fear of sharks. I used to be terrified of sharks. I now free dive with sharks.
Oh, wow.
Not all the time, but I'll touch them, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I had a severe fear of heights. I fell off a mountainside 150 feet when I was 25 years old. should be dead. I'm a walking miracle. And that's a whole nother story.
Oh my God.
But I had developed a fear of heights, lo and behold. Well, I've overcome that fear of heights. I can look off the freaking Eiffel Tower right now if I want. But for a while, I couldn't. I had a fear of driving. I was in a bad car accident when I was 17. I almost killed my best friend. We flipped 4 times. I couldn't get in a car for about a year and a half without having panic attacks. And I had to overcome that and outgrow it. I can drive a car with my eyes closed now. What's up? Am I some superhero? No. I've outgrown stuff with courage, with resilience, with mental toughness. By the way, I grew up with crippling asthma. But I went on to play with the Olympic development program, Division I, full ride scholarship, played semi-pro with asthma. Right? When I'm doing sprints and running with all these players, sucking wind through a straw is what it feels like. Mm-hmm. Keeping up and outpacing other people through pure grit, going, I'm not letting this be an excuse. This will not be pardon my French, this will not be a fucking excuse for me. I still go run out in the heat. I'm like, this is how I grow. This is how I get better. I'm not letting anything be an excuse for me. Just drop the excuses. They're not helping you.
Wow. I didn't so you how high was that cliff?
150 feet. It's Lake Joe Cassidy in South Carolina. There's like a cliff next to the lake there.
Yeah, could you touch on that story for just a second? I'm just selfishly, I'm curious.
Yeah. We were free climbing. And it's like a... So,
and you had that fear still, and you were just trying to overcome it?
No, I didn't have the fear then.
Okay.
The fear developed after that.
Got it.
Yeah. I was just being stupid.
Yeah.
It was like a bro weekend, and we were just free climbing without gear. I was honestly about 5 feet from the top, and I lost my grip and so I would free fall for a bit and then hit, and then free fall for a bit and then hit, and then free fall and hit, like tumbling down.
Yeah.
And I ended up landing on my back in a pool of about 11 inches of water. So I still smashed on rock. I mean,
yeah.
So from the neck down, my body was just destroyed. Maintained consciousness the whole time. My best friend and 2 other men were there. They ran for help when they saw that I wasn't dead. It took them about 20 minutes to get to me after, because they had to take a side trail just to get down to me. They watched me fall the whole time. Thought I was dead. They saw me go over the cliff thinking he's done. But they saw me move a little bit, and they ran to me, and then I was conscious, and I was in severe pain, going into shock. Long story short, they found a Boy Scout troop. There's a Boy Scout troop, and they kind of finagled some kind of stretcher and carried me off the mountain. It took about 2 hours. Got me back, and I was bedridden for over 2 months recovering. I bled from my feet for 2 weeks straight.
Oh my God.
Just the lacerations were so deep. And
how did that take a toll on you mentally?
I had a lot of depression. I remember being really depressed. I go from being this active person to just being stationary and like alone all the time. And when you go through physical trauma to the body, it's like a snow globe. It shakes things up, and you cry sometimes. You have fear sometimes. You have doubts or whatever, you know. So yeah, I mean, the physical trauma affects the emotional realm. But I remember, dude, I had a lot of people that would just come and check in on me and bring me groceries, and I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't get off the couch. I was like bedridden. I mean, I'd have to like use some crutches just to get over to the toilet. You know, I could barely shower. I just have to like barely get a washcloth. And
yeah.
So there's a long recovery process, but I didn't know if I was ever going to run or walk again. I mean, my shins were so shattered that they were swollen to the size of my thighs. And you see these shelters.
Yeah,
I got tree trunks. Bro.
Yeah. Oh my.
My shins were as big as my thighs. I mean, so yeah, bro, it was unpleasant. I wouldn't recommend falling off stuff like at that height. But I remember laying there. I remember going over the cliff, being conscious, thinking, this is it. I'm done. This is it. I didn't see a flash of white. I didn't have some like angelic encounter or anything. But I remember going dark and opening my eyes, laying on my back on this rock and like convulsing, and I was cold and in shock.
Yeah.
And I remember having this profound awareness that God was there and that I'm alive for a reason. And I remember simultaneously not even be able to breathe because the pain was so horrific. Level 200 pain, but knowing I'm alive for a reason, and almost like I cannot die.
Yeah.
It's not my time. And this will make me sound like a freak show, but they were like, we got to rush you to the hospital. And I was like, I don't have insurance. And I'm like, I'm convulsing in shock and trauma. And I'm like, no, I just, and then one of the guys there had just had knee surgery and he had pain meds.
Oh, okay.
He was
Yeah.
like, pop these, right? Which helped like a tad bit. But I remember knowing in my spirit, I was like, I'm going to get healed. I'm not dead, and I won't die. And I don't have internal bleeding, and I will live. And I just knew that. And I was like, no, like I'm going to be okay. I'm going to live. And just bedridden for 2 months and then slowly began to walk again and run again and still got some scars. But I just knew it deep inside. Like, and no one could take that from me.
Right.
You know?
Was that your first kind of introduction to what real depression felt like?
Yeah. I've never had depression like that since. Yeah. So that was, I remember one girl wrote me a letter. It was just a real encouraging letter. And I remember that was really helpful. You'd just be shocked at like the little things people could do for you when you're depressed that could really boost your spirit.
Yeah.
You know? So, yep. I don't really struggle with depression. Periodic anxiety, seasons of anxiety is more my thing. But that comes as you push boundaries.
Right. And yeah, and talking about society kind of being a little bit softer, and there's also just so many buzzwords now. I mean, as beautiful as social media being able to connect and understand a little bit more of really what mental health is for some other people, but sometimes words are kind of overused and actions are kind of not really shown a certain way. And I think anxiety a little bit. I mean, if any micro feeling of anything that's somewhat unpleasant, people think they're kind of having a panic attack or just an anxiety strike. Can you kind of explain a little bit of anxiety?
Yeah. Well, anxiety's a funny beast because it can present differently for different people. I see for a lot of men, anxiety presents as irritability. It's internal unrest, but they seem just frustrated all the time. And anxiety and depression can be comorbid. They can kind of cohabitate together. But typically, rather than describe what anxiety is, people kind of know, I feel gross inside. I feel my muscles are tight. My mind is racing. I'm sweaty. I'm grinding my teeth. I've got diarrhea, whatever their thing is, right? But everybody's different. Or just an underlying sense of dread. Something bad's going to happen. The ball's going to drop at any moment.
So the fight or flight feeling, pretty much.
That fight or flight, and let's scale that 0 to 10. There's level 10 fight or flight, and then there's level 1, right? Level 10 would be a panic attack. Level 1 would be like generalized anxiety, which is like a free floating anxiety. I don't really know why I'm worried and stressed. I just am. I don't really have anything to be worried about per se. My relationship's good. I got a secure job, but I just still feel anxious. Well, that's called free floating anxiety. That's generalized anxiety. But the thing I want to try to highlight is anxiety. There's these terms like anxiety disorder. Just be careful with that. Like, you're not a disordered human. You have a struggle. It's not like a label. It's not like this, diagnoses.
Yeah.
We got to be careful with that because labels matter. Labels fuck people up, bro.
Yeah.
Pardon my French. They really do. So be careful with labeling yourself. I have a disorder. Right? Don't identify with that.
So where does that line go from anxiety disorder or that's just kind of like the overall label for it, or anxiety disorder, or just someone who's struggling with anxiety? Unless they bleed into the same thing.
So clinically we would look at, here's what's normal levels of anxiety versus a diagnosis.
Right.
Right. We look at the intensity of the anxiety. Like, how intense is it? Is it distracting you from your job? Are you not leaving your house anymore? Do you no longer have social relationships? Right. Do you have incessant diarrhea from it and nausea? Right. So how intense are the symptoms? We look at the frequency. Like, is this like every other day? Is it every day of the week? Is it all day, every day? Is it just once a month? Right. Those things, frequency, intensity, those things matter. So if it's frequent and it's intense, right, then you might start to classify as diagnoses category. But generally speaking, the way to start to gain ground on your anxiety is to realize all anxiety basically signifies that somewhere your system is picking up on a threat. The threat might be the potential of the economy collapsing. The threat might be an imagined threat that your girlfriend's cheating on you. The threat might be that your social media followers will stop following you and reject you. Whatever your worry is, whatever you feel a threat on some level of something bad happening, or right. So, and some of these are imagined threats. Most of them are. It's catastrophizing. It's envisioning worst case scenario outcomes, which we're really good at. We do that really well. Our brains are really good at that, because your brain's desire to look around the landscape and go, is there anything threatening out there? Are there any lions out there that might take me out? Because I need to be aware of that.
Because I know some people who have those kind of thoughts and feelings, but they kind of explain it to me that that's just their mental preparedness of just the world, of just preparing for what's soon to come or what's not to come, sort of thing. And they're able, I feel like outside looking in, they're able to kind of hold their chest up high and like stand a little bit taller than someone who kind of thinks and feels the same way, but it's crippling them. They can't even go outside sometimes.
Okay, so hear this. There's a difference between worrying and strategizing. So worriers, they just worry about worst case scenario outcomes, but they never formulate a good battle plan and attack it. Right? Strategy is, okay, here's the issue, here's the threat, here's how I'm going to approach the threat, here's how I'm going to overcome the threat, here's how I'm going to handle that. And I'm going to do it while I'm afraid. I'm not going to wait for the fear to evaporate. I'm going to move forward while I'm afraid. And here's the thing, as you move forward towards the scary stuff, right? As you move towards your metaphorical dragons and lop their heads off, you get stronger and the dragons get smaller. Your nervous system gets rewired because you're no longer running from the scary stuff. You're slaying it. You're growing. You outgrow. I posted on this the other day. You molt like a lobster sheds its skin. It outgrows its skin, right?
Yeah.
You outgrow your fears. Your nervous system gets rewired and stronger. So the things that used to terrify you and grip you. Bro, I used to be terrified to get on a mic. I avoided public speaking for 3 semesters in college. I dropped out because I was afraid to stand up in front of people and say what I thought and speak. Thought they were going to think I was stupid, sounded stupid, whatever. I had fear. How did I overcome that fear? Did I take a magic pill? Nope. I just slowly but surely started to walk towards my fears of saying what I thought, of formulating my opinions, of speaking, and then doing a podcast. And I remember being on my first podcast just being nervous as hell. So what? You do it while you're afraid, and lo and behold, I'm not nervous today. I mean, I might say something stupid, but I'm okay going, like, not everybody's going to like me.
Yeah.
I've had to grow into that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Some people like me. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but you can be somebody's 100-year-old scotch.
That's something to live by. I mean, it's always thinking like, because me and my wife, we've been together since we're 15. So it's funny looking back at our relationship and seeing that what we used to fear or what we used to kind of struggle with. And now, sorry about that.
It's all your fans.
I know, right? They know I'm doing something, so I'm going to call you right now. But they, it's funny looking back because it's like the things that we used to fear about, and then fast forward to now, it's nothing. We outgrew it in a sense. So fast forward to today.
No, hold on, you didn't just outgrow it. You moved forward in courage while you were scared. You moved towards marriage while you were afraid of marriage.
Yeah.
You moved towards being an entrepreneur and are still doing that while being afraid of, oh shit, what if this doesn't work out?
But I don't really consider myself an entrepreneur. I consider someone like you an entrepreneur because you've
okay.
Because
Why are we different?
Entrepreneurship to me, it's something that someone calls you when it's someone defines yourself that you don't really define for yourself.
Okay.
I don't know. An entrepreneur to me is someone who's kind of older and wiser with experience a little bit too, but also has like their hands in multiple kind of different pots. Maybe.
Does a kid who's 15 that's learned how to monetize tennis shoes on a platform and sell tennis shoes, is he an entrepreneur?
In a way, yes, but I know, I know it's a what's it called? Um, I mean, besides it just being an opinion,
You're definitely an entrepreneur, bro.
I call it on. Well, I guess it's one of the words that kind of like with anxiety, where I feel like sometimes it's been a little bit overused and thrown around too much, and
It's
it's kind
watered
of
down.
and it's kind of lost its meaning a little bit, and lacking luster.
Mm-hmm.
But no, but thank you. I
Well, I mean,
I try
it
my
doesn't matter what I think.
But fast forward to today. So, what are you doing? Do you have anything kind of in the works? Do you have another book coming out? How are you kind of implementing the creativity within yourself to
Yeah.
your business and really every day?
A couple things. Well, I post quite frequently on social media platforms, blogs and videos, just to encourage people and to challenge people. That's a creative outlet for me. For me though, I'm more of a doer than I'm talker. So actually have a program, two technically, but one is a 3-day men's training course called the Primal Course. It's in North Carolina. It's a mountain survival training course where we're teaching psychological components like mental toughness, confidence, facing your fears. We're also summiting mountains. We're also teaching hard survival skills, bushcraft, fire starting, shelter building, things like that.
Is this the first year that you're doing this, or you've done this in the past plenty of times?
I'm about a year in
Okay.
now. And it's a small. I cap it at 10 to 12 men. Mm-hmm. We have 2 to 3 different instructors, but it's just a profound experience to build men to help them step up, whether that's psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, relationally. So that's also, I love that, man. And that's a doing thing. That's not just talk. It's like we're taxing the body while we're learning these different skills and being challenged psychologically. A second one I've got, I don't have the next one lined up. I'm thinking January, February, but it's called the Primal Rite of Passage. And that's technically going to be like a 3-day crucible, which is a chance for you to come test yourself. And we're going to teach land navigation, fire starting, self-defense, hand-to-hand combat, survival swimming, so that men can walk away with hard skills, not just philosophy, right? And we test you. Like, you actually have to perform and pass these particular tests. And you're learning a whole lot. You're doing a lot alongside other quality men. You're rubbing shoulders with quality dudes, and iron sharpens iron. You're getting quality instruction. My martial arts instructor is a brown belt jiu-jitsu, and so ex-military guys myself. So I can give more details on that at another time. But and then yes, am I working on another book? I have a lot of books inside of me. Mm-hmm. It's just about timing, and it's about knowing when to launch forward with that
Does
stuff.
it take a long time to write a book, or did that past book?
That one came out pretty quick because it wasn't intended to be a book. That was more just me just writing for me. But yeah, so I write all the time, and honestly, I'm probably going to take next. I did write I wrote 2 children's books already. They're already in the pipeline. I just haven't done anything with them yet. I need the right artist to
do the illustrations.
Illustrate, yeah, which I haven't found yet. But I'm contemplating taking all my social media blogs and putting those into a book, so that people that aren't on Facebook and Instagram can have access to that stuff. And they're just thoughts on mindset, on confidence, on relationships, on masculinity. And it'd be like I'm envisioning like a toilet book where like you just put it on the back of your toilet and you just read one short clip per bowel movement. And
it's better than being on your phone.
Better than being on your phone, but they're geared. It'll be geared towards men primarily. So yeah, man, that's I'm just trying to do the best I can with what I got, man. With the time, I've got 4 kids, which I love, and I got a wife and a business, and I do all these experiential things, these programs. So I'm just trying to like be a good steward with my time and launch my seeds, my craft, and be a good manager of those. Because I personally, it's a personal belief, I do believe I'm going to be held accountable before God for what I did with what I had. And I think you are too. I think we all are. And I think we should stop underestimating ourselves and realize that the world is waiting on you to release what you carry, and you owe me. You owe me your best. You owe me your best as an artist, as a musician, as a podcaster. You owe me and the world what you have. And it's selfish for you to just tuck it away like it's not a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Couple more things I want to touch on with creativity relating to psychology and mental health. How does creativity work to improve mental health? I was
Yeah.
I was honestly researching just psychology in relation to creativity and just found a bunch of different quotes, a bunch of different questions. So I was thinking, want to pick your brain about some of them.
Yeah. So, all right. Think of it this way. Humans, I'm a man. I'm not a woman. By the way, there's a difference between a man and a woman. We'll talk about that another time. But men specifically, we feel most fulfilled and happiest when we see ourselves progressing. Okay. So if you have, not if, you all have it, but your crafts, your abilities, your talents, all that stuff, you have those. Unless you take them and do something with them creatively, like you launch them, I don't think you'll be as fulfilled and as happy. I don't think your mental health will be as sound. I know plenty of people that work jobs that they hate and they have all these desires, these ideas that just seem too far-fetched. And so they're just stuck in the rat race and they're not fully alive, right? And the world doesn't need it. The world needs people who are fully alive. Right? It needs people, and you'll be fully alive when you're tapping into your potential, which means pay attention to desires, pay attention to talents and abilities. So how does it help mental health? Well, do you want to feel better in your mood? Do those things that make you come alive. Do them more, right? A lot of people, and I'm not saying quit your day job and just go run off and chase your dream of being in the NFL, but you're only 5'2".
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, hear my heart. Everybody's got talents. Everybody's got abilities. Everybody's got skill sets, right? And skill sets can be refined and you can grow in them, right? Like if your skill is running, you can get better at running, but it's going to take serious effort, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think you're going to really struggle to feel deep joy if you're not. You're going to struggle mentally, psychologically, if you're not grabbing hold of those things for which you are designed, right? So when you are in pursuit, you kind of know this. When you're in pursuit of something that really organically inspires you, you feel pretty damn good.
Oh yeah.
Your feelings, your moods are affected. Your motivation levels are affected. I just talked to a family yesterday. They could not figure out how to get their teenage boy motivated. They were just like, they tried everything, all these different clubs, different things. The kid, he's 16, he's a sophomore. He finally found high school football and he's just like fell in love with it. And they're like, we don't even have to wake him up anymore. He wakes us up. We don't have to remind him. He's reminding us. That is not our kid. He's changed completely. It's organic motivation because the kid tapped into something he's supposed to be doing, right? A lot of times we're not tapping into what we're supposed to be doing. So we feel dead on the inside. We feel depressed. Depression can be a signal to you that you are out of alignment with what you're supposed to be doing. Depression can be a signal to you that you are around the wrong people, right? Before you diagnose, I saw this meme, before you diagnose yourself as being depressed, make sure you're not just hanging out with assholes.
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of us are like, we're anxious and depressed because we're not in alignment with what we're supposed to be doing or who we're supposed to be with or who we're supposed to be around. Right? So like I know this missionary lady, she freaking loves living in the dirt in Africa. That is her thing. That is not my thing. I've spent 5 months in Africa. I kissed the airport ground when I got back to America. I literally did. I was like, so happy to be back. But she loves it.
Yeah.
That's her jam. That's where she's supposed to be, serving those people, right? She's alive. If you're a musician and you're not cultivating your craft, it's going to be a struggle for you, bro. It really is, So, yeah, how does it affect mental health? If you're out of alignment, your mental health is going to struggle.
I couldn't agree more to that. That's initially why I really started this podcast, because I believe in creativity and connection, and I funnel that into my passion, which is music. And I always felt like am that person that will have a conversation, but just replay the conversation over in my head a million times. I'm like, I could have said this a little bit different. I could have said this. I didn't really have enough confidence and discernment when I spoke too. So this is why something kind of
You're facing your fears.
everything what you're saying, just kind of go out and do it in order to grow. But
can I challenge you just as an encouragement?
I want to hear some challenges.
Bro, well, this world doesn't need any clones. Like, you need to talk how you talk, say how you say it. I don't think God's interested in clones. I think you got unique fingerprints. So I remember sometimes I'm faced with that fear too. Like, maybe I should alter how I say things and speak, and maybe I need to be more articulate. And I'm not opposed to refining your craft and getting better, maxing out potential. But like, be more and more okay with, this is who I am and this is how I do it. And push back on the world, right? A lot of this is imaginary, right?
Yeah.
When I listen to people, I don't think, oh, they should talk more like this person should. I'm going, oh, that's how they talk. Cool. I like that. If you don't cuss, if you cuss, whatever. Like, I be you. Everybody else is already taken.
Yeah.
I think that's Oscar Wilde.
During my research though of creativity and psychology, I found this quote that I kind of liked, and I'm just going to read it to you, and let me know your thoughts. Okay. You can't be creative unless you come up with something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, there's aspects to that I really like, but I think you can improve upon things that have already been created. So a great example of this would be Redbox. Remember Redbox?
Yeah, I mean, there's still one or two.
Still around, yeah, one or two in the whole country. Yeah. I think we have one here, but they were like the jam for a couple years. But then guess who outdid them? Netflix. They improved upon the idea of bringing home videos into the home instead of using a disc. Now it's just digital, and Redbox did. I think they used to. You could mail it in or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So they adapted, but they didn't adapt quick enough. So somebody else built upon someone else's idea. So, but I think it's both ways. Like, you can get creative with your craft, and then somebody might build onto that or whatever. But you still have a duty and a responsibility to observe where things could be done better and maybe execute, or to just take what you have and launch it, ship it, do it, put it out there. I'm going to be honest. I'll be vulnerable. The book that I wrote, there's a couple typos in it. The formatting is not, like, I couldn't give it enough time to get it to the perfect place, but I knew I just had to get it out.
Yeah. Perfect's better than done, or done's better than perfect. There
right.
You
go. I just had to ship it. And do I look back and go, man, I really wish I could just edit it and whatever. It's live on Amazon. It's like, no, I just put it out there. Risk judgment, risk criticism. It's like, I just had to get it out there.
Yeah.
And just honor that, and risk humiliation, risk rejection. But it was for me. I had to do it. And so I'm not trying to impress the world. Or at least I need to try to stop impressing the world. I need to try to max out my potential and try to be of service to the world. And in so doing, I think I can help more people.
Thank you for everything today. Before I kind of put any closing thoughts, I definitely want to let you know how much I appreciate you and how much you've helped me kind of grow and kind of put more thought and action into my path. And I know that this will definitely help somebody. So if someone's watching this A to Z, a creative, somebody who has anxiety, self-doubt, maybe unsure of themselves, what is one thing you hope they can take away from this?
You are allowed to outgrow your fears, and your nervous system can be retrained, and you're not stuck in a label. Molt, be the lobster, right? And by the way, I do have an e-course on this. Overcoming panic and anxiety. So my website's thrive.co. We could throw that up there on the YouTube, whatever. So that could help you. But yeah, man, like to be human is to wrestle with anxiety on occasion and to wrestle with fear. You're not some freak show. You are normal and human. Some humans bow to their fears, bow to their worries, and some people challenge them. I want to challenge you to be a challenger.
So where can they find you on social media and website and?
My Instagram is called Primal Virtues. All right. That's my book is called Primal Virtues for the Modern Man. That's on Amazon. My website is thrive.co. It's thriiv.co. And I am on Facebook, Jonathan Rios. But my handle's all, I've never fixed it. It's like a bunch of numbers. So good luck finding it. Go to my website. You can find the icon there for Facebook.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, dude.
Good stuff.
Thanks, bro.
Appreciate it.